The impossible breach. The crystal spires of Zephyr Prime gleamed like frozen starlight against the violet sky. High Archon Veltar stood on the observation deck of the Supreme Command Tower, his 6 arms folded in satisfaction as he watched the celebration below. 15 years of war against the upstart humans was finally ending. Their colonies burned, their fleets scattered, their homeworld under siege. Soon, Earth itself would fall. "My lord," came the melodic voice of his aide. "The final battle reports from the Sol system." Veltar's compound eyes glittered with predatory satisfaction. "How many human ships remain?" "Fewer than 200, scattered across their outer colonies. Our analysts predict complete surrender within 3 cycles." The High Archon's mandibles clicked in approval. When the Zephyrian hegemony had first encountered these strange bipedal creatures 15 years ago, they had seemed almost primitive. Their ships were crude, their weapons basic, their military doctrine predictable. True, they had shown unusual persistence in defending their territory, but persistence meant nothing against superior technology and numbers. "Schedule the victory parade for next cycle," Veltar commanded. "Let all the subject races see what happens to those who dare challenge Zephyrian supremacy." 3,000 light-years away, in the empty void between star systems, something impossible was happening. The space around a dead asteroid belt began to shimmer like heat waves rising from desert sand. Reality twisted, folded, and suddenly, where there had been nothing, a massive shape materialized. The UES Prometheus hung in space like a sleeping giant. 8 kilometers long and bristling with weapons, the battleship was humanity's most closely guarded secret. Its hull was scared from countless battles, but it moved with the deadly grace of a predator. On the bridge, Admiral Sarah Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the stars wheel past on the main display. At 52, she had steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. A jagged scar ran from her left temple to her jaw, a gift from the Battle of New Geneva. "Phase drive shut down complete," reported Dr. Marcus Webb from the engineering station. The elderly scientist looked exhausted, his face pale from the strain of operating experimental technology. "All systems nominal, but I'm reading massive energy fluctuations in the quantum matrix. We can't maintain this for much longer." Chen nodded grimly. The phase drive was humanity's desperate gambit, a technology that existed more in theory than practice. By temporarily shifting the ship slightly out of normal space-time, they could slip past enemy sensors and travel through solid matter. But each jump consumed enormous amounts of energy and put tremendous stress on both ship and crew. "How deep are we?" she asked Lieutenant Commander Jake Torres at the tactical station. Torres, a lean man with calloused hands and the steady eyes of a veteran fighter, consulted his displays. "Deep, Admiral. We're in the heart of the Zephyr system, 15 light minutes from their primary command station. No human has ever penetrated this far into enemy territory." Chen allowed herself a thin smile. "Then let's make sure they remember this visit." The Prometheus had been built in secret in the asteroid fields beyond Pluto, using salvaged Zephyrian technology and human ingenuity. When Earth's government had fallen and the official military scattered, Chen had taken the ship and its hand-picked crew and disappeared into the void. For 3 years, they had struck at enemy supply lines and outposts, always vanishing before retaliation could arrive. But this was different. This was the heart of enemy space, where no human ship should be able to survive for more than minutes. "Target acquired," Torres announced. "Zephyrian Command Nexus Theta 7, bearing 047 Mark 12. It's their primary communication hub for this entire sector." Weapon status: all batteries charged and ready, quantum torpedoes loaded. Chen took a deep breath. Once they fired, there would be no going back. The entire Zephyrian fleet would converge on their position. Fire. The Prometheus unleashed hell. Quantum torpedoes streaked across space at near-light speed, their exotic matter warheads designed to disrupt the energy matrices that powered Zephyrian technology. The command station's shields flared and died in seconds. Secondary explosions rippled across its crystalline hull as critical systems overloaded. In the space of 30 seconds, communications across 12 star systems went dark. On Zephyr Prime, alarms began screaming throughout the Supreme Command Tower. High Archon Veltar rushed to the command center, his ceremonial robes billowing behind him. "Report," he barked. Navigator Zixandra, a young officer with trembling manipulator arms, turned from her console. "My lord, we've lost contact with Nexus Theta 7. All communications in sectors 40 through 51 are down." "Equipment failure?" "No, sir. We detected weapons fire. High-energy quantum torpedoes. Consistent with—" She hesitated, her voice dropping to a whisper, "consistent with human technology." The command center fell silent. Every eye turned to Velatar, who stood frozen in disbelief. "Impossible. No human ship can penetrate our defensive grid. Our sensors would detect them long before they reached firing range." "Sir," Zixandra continued, her voice shaking, "there's more. Just before we lost contact, Theta 7 reported detecting a massive energy signature. Ship-class readings indicate a vessel over 8 kilometers in length." Veltar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Humans didn't build ships that large. Their largest known vessels were barely 2 kilometers long, and most of those had been destroyed years ago. "Show me the tactical display," he commanded. The holographic star map flickered to life, showing the Zephyrian Empire's vast territory. Red warning indicators marked the systems that had gone dark, creating a gaping hole in their communication network. "This is strategically impossible," muttered Fleet Admiral Kethmore, Veltar's chief military advisor. The grizzled veteran had fought in dozens of campaigns across the galaxy. To strike at Theta 7, a human ship would have to travel through 4 different defensive perimeters, past 16 patrol squadrons, and through a sensor net so dense that not even our own stealth ships can penetrate it undetected. Yet somehow they did, Veltar said grimly. "Send immediate orders to all fleet commanders. I want every available ship converging on the Theta 7 coordinates. If there truly is a human vessel in our territory, I want it found and destroyed." Back aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Webb was frantically working at his console, sweat beading on his forehead. "Admiral, the phase drive is overheating. We've got maybe one more jump before we risk a complete system failure." "How long do we have?" Chen asked. 10 minutes, maybe 15. After that, we'll be stuck in normal space." Torres looked up from his sensors. "Multiple contacts converging on our position. I count 47 Zephyrian warships, with more jumping in every minute. They're forming a containment grid." Chen studied the tactical display. The enemy ships were moving in a standard search pattern, but they were looking for a conventional vessel. They had no idea they were hunting something that could phase in and out of normal space. "Dr. Webb, can we make it to the Kepler station?" The scientist's eyes widened. Kepler Station was a Zephyrian research facility in the next system, heavily guarded and containing some of their most advanced technology. "It would be suicide. Admiral, even if the phase drive holds out, we'd be jumping into the middle of their main fleet. That's exactly why they won't expect us," Chen said with a predatory smile. "Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight." Torres grinned, understanding her plan. The old rebel trick. Hit them where they feel safest. "Exactly. How many Zephyrian ships are stationed at Kepler?" "According to our intelligence, at least 100. Maybe more." "Perfect. They'll think we're crazy to attack such a heavily defended target, which means they won't be watching for us." Webb shook his head in amazement. "Admiral, with respect, we are crazy. The phase drive was never designed for combat operations. Every time we use it, we're risking a complete molecular dissolution of the ship." "Then we'd better make sure we use it wisely," Chen replied. "Prepare for phase jump. Destination: Kepler Station." As the Prometheus began to fade from normal space, The Zephyrian search fleet arrived at the coordinates where their command station had been destroyed. They found nothing but debris and radiation. The human ship had vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. High Archon Veltar received the report in stunned silence. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something he had never experienced when facing human forces. Fear. Not fear of death or defeat, but fear of the unknown. How could a species they had dismissed as primitive achieve something that violated everything they understood about physics and warfare? "My lord," Zixandra reported, "we're receiving emergency transmissions from our other command nexuses. They're requesting immediate reinforcement of their defensive grids." Veltar nodded absently. Of course they were afraid. If humans could appear anywhere without warning, nowhere in the Empire was safe. But how were they doing it? What technology could possibly allow a ship that size to move undetected through space? "Recall our forces from the Sol offensive," he ordered finally. "I want every available ship patrolling our core systems, and contact our science division. I want to know how the humans achieved this impossible feat." But even as he gave the orders, Veltar couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. For 15 years, the war had been predictable. The Zephyrians had superior technology and numbers, while the humans had only their stubborn refusal to surrender. Now suddenly, the humans had done something impossible. In the depths of space, the Prometheus completed its phase jump and materialized in the shadow of Kepler Station. The massive research facility orbited a dying star, its crystalline towers housing laboratories where Zephyrian scientists worked on their most classified projects. "Phase jump complete," Webb reported, his hands shaking from exhaustion. "But Admiral, the quantum matrix is critical. One more jump like that, and we'll tear the ship apart." Chen studied the tactical display. Kepler Station was indeed heavily defended, with over 90 warships patrolling in precise formations. But something else caught her attention. "Taurus, what are those smaller signatures near the station?" The tactical officer enhanced the display. "Looks like transport ships, civilian vessels." "Admiral, I think they're evacuating non-essential personnel." Chen's eyes narrowed. The Zephyrians were scared. News of the Prometheus's impossible appearance had spread through their command structure, and they were taking precautions. Good. Fear would make them cautious, predictable. "What's our target?" Torres asked. Chen pointed to a section of the station where energy readings spiked dramatically. "That's their primary research lab. According to our intelligence, they're working on improved shield technology there. We take that out, and we set back their defensive capabilities by years." "Ma'am," Webb interrupted, "I should point out that attacking the station will definitely provoke a massive response. Every ship in this system will converge on us." "I'm counting on it," Chen replied. "The more ships they send after us, the fewer they have defending other targets." She activated the ship's internal communication system. "All hands, this is the Admiral. In 30 seconds, we're going to remind the Zephyrians that humans don't give up easily. We're going to hit them where it hurts, and then we're going to disappear like ghosts. Ready all weapons." The Prometheus emerged from the shadow of the dying star like an avenging angel. Its quantum torpedoes lanced out with deadly precision, punching through the research lab's shields as if they were paper. Secondary explosions rippled through the station as experimental technologies went critical. But this time, the human ship didn't immediately vanish. Instead, it began broadcasting on all frequencies, using captured Zephyrian communication protocols. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Prometheus." Her voice echoed across the system. "You thought humanity was broken. You thought we would surrender and die quietly in the dark. You were wrong." The message continued as Zephyrian ships scrambled to respond. "We are still here. We are still fighting, and we will never surrender. This is just the beginning." The transmission cut off, and the Prometheus faded back into its phase state, leaving behind a burning space station and 93 very confused and frightened Zephyrian warships. Light years away, The message was picked up by human resistance cells hiding in the ruins of conquered colonies. For the first time in years, they dared to hope. The turning tide. The underground bunker on New Terra had been carved from solid rock, 3 kilometers beneath the planet's surface. It was here that the remnants of humanity's resistance had gathered, their faces gaunt from years of hiding and fighting a losing war. The air recyclers hummed constantly, struggling to keep the atmosphere breathable for the 200 souls who called this tomb home. Commander Elena Vasquez stood before a crackling communications array, her weathered hands working frantically at the controls. At 38, she looked 20 years older, her black hair streaked with premature gray, and her brown eyes bearing the hollow look of someone who had lost too much. Did anyone else pick up that transmission? She called out to the crowded chamber. A dozen voices answered at once. The signal had been broadcast across multiple frequencies, using Zephyrian communication protocols that should have been impossible for humans to access. But the voice had been unmistakably human, and the message had sent shockwaves through every resistance cell in known space. Admiral Sarah Chen, whispered Dr. Lisa Park, the colony's former head of astrophysics. I thought she was dead. The official reports said her ship was destroyed at the Battle of Titan Station. The official reports said a lot of things, Vasquez replied grimly. But if that really was Chen, and if she's somehow operating a battleship behind enemy lines. She didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone in the bunker understood. For 3 years, they had been fighting a guerrilla war against impossible odds, striking at Zephyrian supply convoys and communication relays, before melting back into the shadows. It was a war of pinpricks against an empire, noble but ultimately futile. But a human battleship striking at the heart of Zephyrian space changed everything. "Ma'am," called out Sergeant Rodriguez from his position at the sensor station, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from other cells." Everyone heard it. The message is spreading faster than the Zephyrians can jam it. Vasquez felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Real, burning hope that maybe, just maybe, humanity still had a chance. High above New Terra's surface, Zephyrian patrol ships moved in their standard search patterns, hunting for signs of human activity. They had been doing this for 2 years, ever since the planet's official surrender. Most of the time, they found nothing. The humans had learned to hide well. But today was different. Today, the crews were nervous, constantly checking their sensors and jumping at shadows. Word of the impossible human battleship had spread through their ranks like wildfire, undermining their confidence and making them question everything they thought they knew about their enemies. Flight Commander Zektar hovered over his pilot's console, his 4 arms manipulating multiple controls simultaneously. He had been patrolling this sector for 18 cycles without encountering significant resistance. The humans here were broken, hiding like frightened animals in the planet's underground warrens. So why did he feel so uneasy? "Contact on long-range sensors," reported his navigator. "Unknown signature, bearing 274 Mark 18. Zektar's compound eyes focused on the display. The signature was faint, almost lost in the background radiation from the system's star. Classification: unknown, sir. The energy pattern doesn't match any known human vessel type. Before Zektar could respond, his communications officer spoke up. "Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Sector Command. All patrol units are ordered to maintain maximum vigilance. Intel reports suggest coordinated human resistance activity." Coordinated. That was the word that sent chills through every Zephyrian military unit. For years, human resistance had been fragmented, disorganized, easy to predict and counter. But if they were coordinating their activities, full sensor sweep, Zektar ordered. "I want to know what that signature is." 60 light-years away, in the depths of a massive asteroid field, Fleet Admiral Keth Moore commanded the largest Zephyrian task force assembled in decades. 300 ships, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to fast attack cruisers, spread out in a search pattern that covered 12 cubic light-years of space. They were hunting for a ghost. Any sign of the human vessel. Keth Moore asked his chief of staff. Nothing confirmed, sir. We've had 17 false alarms in the past 6 hours. Our sensor operators are reporting phantom contacts that disappear when we investigate. Keth Moore's mandibles clicked in frustration. The Prometheus had struck 3 more targets in the past week. A supply depot, a training facility, and a communications relay. Each attack followed the same pattern. The ship appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, broadcast a message of defiance, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The psychological impact was enormous. Zephyrian commanders were requesting additional escorts for routine supply runs. Garrison forces were demanding reinforcements. Civilian administrators were panic-buying passage off frontier worlds. Sir, his communications officer announced, priority message from High Command. High Archon Veltar wishes to speak with you immediately. The holographic image of the High Archon materialized on the command bridge, his usually immaculate robes disheveled and his compound eyes glowing with barely controlled rage. Admiral Keth Moore, explain to me how a single human vessel continues to operate with impunity in the heart of our territory. Keth Moore straightened his posture. My lord, we are dealing with technology that should not exist. This human ship can somehow bypass our sensors and appear anywhere without warning. Our conventional tactics are inadequate. Then develop unconventional tactics. Veltar snapped. The humans are using our own communication networks to spread propaganda. Resistance cells that have been dormant for years are suddenly active again. If we cannot stop this ship, we risk losing control of our entire frontier. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Keth Moore staring at empty air. The High Archon was right, of course. The Prometheus was more than just a military threat. It was a symbol. As long as it continued to operate, it proved that humans could still strike back, still hurt their oppressors. And symbols, Keth Moore knew, could be more dangerous than entire fleets. Aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Webb collapsed into his chair, his face pale with exhaustion. The phase drive had been running almost continuously for 8 days, jumping the ship from target to target across Zephyrian space. Each jump pushed the experimental technology closer to complete failure. Status report. Admiral Chen requested as she entered the engineering section. Not good, Webb admitted. The quantum matrix is showing stress fractures. The exotic matter containment field is fluctuating, and the power requirements are increasing exponentially with each jump. How many more can we make? Webb considered the question carefully. Maybe 5. Possibly fewer. After that, we'll either have to shut down for extensive repairs or risk losing the ship entirely. Chen nodded grimly. 5 more jumps. 5 more chances to strike at the enemy before the Prometheus was reduced to a conventional warship, trapped in normal space where Zephyrian numbers would overwhelm them in minutes. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Torres called from the bridge. You need to see this. Chen returned to the command center, where Torres was monitoring intercepted enemy communications. The main display showed a tactical map of known space, with red indicators marking Zephyrian fleet movements. They're repositioning their entire military structure, Torres explained, pulling ships back from frontier sectors, reinforcing core worlds, establishing patrol patterns designed to trap us. How many ships? Best estimate. Over 2,000 vessels are now actively hunting for us. They've recalled forces from their offensive operations and put their entire navy on defensive alert. Chen studied the display with growing satisfaction. By forcing the Zephyrians to defend everywhere, she had effectively ended their ability to attack anywhere. Earth was still under siege, but the pressure had decreased dramatically as enemy ships were recalled to protect Zephyrian territory. There's more, Torres continued. We're intercepting increased chatter from human resistance cells. They're coordinating attacks to coincide with our strikes. When we hit a target, they simultaneously attack related facilities in their sectors. Dr. Webb looked up from his console. Admiral, that's brilliant. We're not just attacking the enemy, we're conducting a symphony of rebellion across the entire galaxy. Chen allowed herself a rare smile. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to remind people that it's still worth fighting. She activated the ship's communication system. All hands, this is the Admiral. Plot a course for the Arcturus system. It's time to pay a visit to the Zephyrian capital. The bridge fell silent. Every crew member understood what she was proposing. Arcturus was the most heavily defended system in the galaxy, home to the Zephyrian High Command, and protected by over 500 warships. "Ma'am," Torres said quietly, "that's suicide. Even with the phase drive, we can't possibly." "We're not going there to fight," Chen interrupted. "We're going there to make a statement." 2 days later, the impossible happened. The UES Prometheus materialized in the space above Zephyr Prime, humanity's most wanted ship hanging like a dark omen above the Empire's capital world. In the Supreme Command Tower, alarms screamed as sensor operators tried to make sense of their readings. High Archon Veltar stood frozen in his command center, staring at the tactical display that showed a human battleship in orbit of his homeworld. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" Navigator Zixandra was frantically working at her console, her manipulator arms moving in desperate patterns. "Sir, the defensive grid shows no breach. All sensor stations report normal readings. According to our instruments, there's nothing there." But the evidence of their eyes contradicted their instruments. The human ship hung in space like a judgment, its hull scarred from battle but its weapons clearly functional. "Sir," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." On screen, Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main display, her gray eyes steady and unafraid. Behind her, the bridge of the Prometheus hummed with quiet activity. "High Archon Veltar," she began, "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. I come with a message from humanity." Veltar found his voice. "You dare bring your primitive vessel into the heart of our empire. Our fleets will destroy you before you can escape." Chen smiled coldly. "Your fleets can't even see me until I choose to be seen. Your sensors can't track me. Your weapons can't target me. I am here because I chose to be here, and I will leave when I choose to leave." She leaned forward slightly. "But before I go, I want you to understand something. Humanity is not broken. We are not defeated. We have taken your own technology and improved upon it. We have learned from every battle, adapted to every challenge you've thrown at us." The transmission continued as Zephyrian ships across the system scrambled to respond. "You thought you were fighting primitives. You were wrong. You thought you could crush us with superior numbers. You were wrong. You thought you understood the limits of what humans could achieve. You were very, very wrong." Chen stood up, her image filling the screen. "This war is not over. It has barely begun. And when it ends, it will be on humanity's terms, not yours." The transmission cut off, and the Prometheus began to fade from normal space. But before it completely disappeared, one final message echoed across all frequencies. "Tell your people that the humans are coming. Tell them that we remember every world you've burned, every colony you've destroyed, every life you've taken. And tell them that we will never, ever surrender." The ship vanished, leaving behind a capital world in chaos and an empire that suddenly realized it was fighting an enemy it had never truly understood. In underground bunkers and hidden bases across the galaxy, human resistance fighters listened to the message and prepared for war. The tide was turning, and for the first time in 15 years, they believed they might actually win. High Archon Veltar stood alone in his command center long after his staff had departed. Outside the tower's windows, Zephyr Prime continued its ancient rotation, but everything had changed. The humans had done more than penetrate his defenses. They had shattered the myth of Zephyrian invincibility. And in the depths of space, the Prometheus continued its impossible journey, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire species that refused to bow to tyranny. The war was far from over, but humanity had just served notice that it intended to win.